Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to be doing a book review on the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. If you guys don't know, this is an adult fantasy novel that actually won the Hugo Award in 2016. And the second book, The Obelisk Gate, was also nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards for 2017, so I needed to read the first book so I could read the second book for those awards. In this fantasy world, there is a huge continent that is being kept together because there are people that are able to control the earth. Basically, they can feel the fault lines and prevent earthquakes from happening and prevent volcanoes from erupting, stuff like that. Those people are called origines, and they're actually not well liked in this society. Basically, the entire continent has been taken over by one single ruling government, and that's located in Jemisin, I think is the name of that city. And that government has started rounding up all of the origines and keeping them in this training facility, this camp, if you will, where they're trained in their powers and then forced to serve the country and however they see fit. Some origins do escape and they live on the outside of this and stay hidden, but if they're found out, people will try to track them down and kill them because origins have the power to absorb heat and kinetic energy and then transfer that and use it as power to affect the earth and, you know, prevent these earthquakes from happening. But they need a power source, and if there's not really any available, they will take the heat from a human and that human ends up being frozen and killed. So people are scared of origins and will kill them if they are not the ones that are controlled by the government. There's a lot of other things going on as well, but that's kind of the basic premise of this world. And also in the world there are 5 seasons. There's regular ones, but every time there's a 5th season, it's basically a period of apocalyptic events. They're all different. Sometimes it is poison, acid rain, other times it's disease or insects that are ruining things, ruining crops, causing all sorts of problems. And at the beginning of the book, a new 5th season has begun. In this book, there are 3 different storylines that you follow. The first one is a woman named Asun. Her part in the story is actually told in second person, and so every time the narrator says you, it's actually talking about the character Asun. I don't know how to pronounce that. At the beginning of the book, the 5th season is starting to begin, and she discovers that one of her children has been murdered, and so then she has to try to figure out where the killer has gone, and because she wants to get her revenge because obviously her son was murdered, and that is awful. The second storyline is a girl named Sayunite, I don't know how to pronounce that. She has been living in the capital, the Jemisin or whatever, in the Fulcrum, which is the name of the camp, the training facility that they live in. She is what's called a 4th ringer, and as you progress in power and control and trust, you end up getting more and more rings on your fingers. She has 4 rings on her hands, and she gets a new assignment to go with this 10 ringer, and they have to take on this mission that's in a different city, so they have to travel to get there, and you just follow her plot line. There's a lot of awful things that happen to her too. It's just very interesting. And the last one you follow is a girl named Maya, and she has just been discovered as an origin, and so the people from Jemisin, I still don't know how to say that, send what's called a guardian, and the guardians are the ones that really guard the origins, and so one comes to pick her up and take her to the Fulcrum. As usual with my book reviews, I'm going to go through my pros, give you my cons, give you my rating, and be done. My first pro for this book is just that I pretty much loved everything. Like, I pretty much loved everything about this book. I found the world building incredibly interesting, extremely unique. I got a really good grasp for everything that was happening in the world. The different comms and how they're set up, and the politics of the world really makes sense with the type of world that they're living in. And on this huge continent, there are different environments, and because of that, there are colder environments and more coastal environments, and there are more desert-like environments, and because there are such varied places to live, there are a lot of variations within the people. There are different skin colors, there are different hair types, there are different eye colors. There are so many different types of people in this world, and they're all very fleshed out, and I really liked how there was a big thing on breeding and how people were breeding for the best traits depending on where you lived, and it was all very interesting. The world was incredibly compelling because I just wanted to learn everything that there was to learn about it. I loved the magic system. I don't fully understand it at the end of this book because there are a lot of unknowns within the magic system, like the characters don't even know what's going on with the magic system, but I really liked learning about all these origins and how they can affect the earth and prevent earthquakes, and how those abilities within Origins are instinctive and what that means, and how orogeny is kind of a guiding factor for Origins, and if they listen to it, it helps them, but if they go against it, they're not as successful with their origin powers. So I just loved the magic system and that with the Guardians, and I don't really know what's going on with them. And then there's the Stone Eaters, so that's like a whole nother thing. I just loved the magic system. I'm really looking forward to learning more about it in the future books. I really enjoyed that the main god that these people really talk about is the Earth. They call it the evil Father Earth or something like that. They always are talking about the ground, and it's made a huge point that the people in this world really focus their eyes and their view down, and they don't really look up as much. And so the people always describe the earth and what's happening on the ground, but they don't describe what's happening in the air as much. And I thought that was really interesting and really cool, because our current world, we always look up. We're looking into the stars, we're looking into space and clouds, stuff like that. And for a population to be completely focused downward was really interesting. Another huge pro for this book is going to be the 3 different storylines that you follow that I talked about earlier. I found every single storyline extremely compelling, and not one did I favor more than the others. I really wanted to learn about each of the storylines, and when the storylines started to overlap and interweave, I just was so excited, and I just could not contain myself, and I read the rest of it so fast. Once those connections started to happen, I just could not stop. Basically, it was completely captivating. One thing specifically I liked about the different characters was that they were all really interesting, and you kind of rooted for all of them, even if they weren't really all on the same side. And I could really understand the motivation that each character had and the goals that they were working towards. And I also liked that none of them are completely aligned. Even if they're allies for now, that doesn't mean that their goals are completely 100% the same. And so there are some variations within characters that are traveling together or working together. One character has a slightly different goal in mind, or has a completely different goal in mind than some of the other ones, and it just made for a very interesting story. I've been using interesting, compelling, and captivating a lot in this review, but that's basically what it was. Another thing I really liked was the fast-paced nature of the book. I read this so fast, like I said already. It had my favorite style, where at the end of every chapter there's a little bit of a cliffhanger, and so you want to keep reading to find out what happens next to that specific character and storyline, but it happens for each one and they switch. So to get to that answer, you have to read like a couple more chapters, but there's continuous cliffhangers and things that keep you reading. So I just sped through this book so fast, and once you really get into it, and once you kind of understand what's happening with the Origins and the fulcrum and everything like that, you just keep reading and keep reading and keep reading. I think I read this in a couple of days, and it's not the shortest of novels. And my last pro that I'm going to talk about is that I really enjoyed the narrator of this story. It's told in the perspective of a different character that I'm not going to tell you who it is right now. I really enjoyed that as another character to the story, and another layer to the narrative is that there's a character within this story that's telling the story. Now I'm going to talk about some of my cons. One of my cons is that I didn't feel like there was a lot of catharsis with the ending of this book. It didn't have a whole lot wrapping up. There weren't a lot of things that were tied up. And with that, my other con for this is going to be that this novel feels more like a prequel novel than it does the first book in a series. It seems like I would have read the series and then had all these questions about what happened first caused these things to happen. Then I would go back and read this novel because I'd be interested in the prequel and what was happening, but you get the prequel first, which I guess is a good thing because then you have all the background information. But it really did feel like a prequel when I ended it, and I was a little bit disappointed, I guess. But then again, I already ordered the second book and I'm going to be jumping into it immediately, so I'll be continuing all the storylines immediately and not forgetting anything, and hopefully learning the endings of some of these storylines and plots that were started in this book. So overall, I absolutely loved the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I ended up giving it 4.75 stars just because I was a little bit disappointed with how it ended in terms of how nothing really was solved. Like, not one single thing was solved, but the book and the plot and the world and the magic and the writing are absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. I loved reading it. I just wish that there was a little bit more catharsis at the very end. So that's going to be my review on the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below if you've read this book. Did you love it just as much as I did? Did you not like it? What didn't you like about it? Let's have a conversation down in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys next time.